What's up, everybody? My name is Matt Modai, and in this video, I'm going to talk to you about why I think OddsJam is one of the best sports betting softwares or one of the best sports betting websites out there on the market. A little bit of background about myself just to get this out there. My name is, again, Matt Modai. I am a content producer and betting analyst for OddsJam, but before I was ever an employee of OddsJam, I was a user. I started using OddsJam at the beginning of football season, and I've seen incredible profits, incredible success, and a ton of value using OddsJam. So even though I'm an employee, I'm a firm believer in the website, and I'm going to talk to you about why I think it's one of the best softwares out there and that it can help any type of sports bettor, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, or expert throwing down hundreds of thousands of dollars a night. OddsJam is an incredibly helpful tool. So to give people a little bit of background about myself, before, like I said, I was an employee, I was a user, and I think a lot of people think that you need to have a huge bankroll in order to profit using OddsJam, but I started with a relatively low bankroll. I started at like 500 bankroll, which is pretty low. In my first 3 weeks, so my first week I profited 280, then I went up to 510. My third week I went up to 684. Obviously I was down after that, but my first 3 weeks I was able to profit a little under, just under $1,200 in my first 3 weeks. So right then and there, I was sold. So I'm going to be talking to you about the concepts I used to make that profit, how I used OddsJam to make that happen, and why I think it's one of the best tools out there. But before I get started, a couple things to note. Number one, I would really appreciate if you could like the video and comment if you like the content. I want to know what people like and what people don't like so I can cater it moving forward. I would also appreciate if you could click that plus button and subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel. That would help us out a ton. But overall, like I said, I'm going to be going over all the different tools and features that OddsJam has to offer and why it's one of the best sports betting softwares out there on the internet. So what I have up here is probably my most favorite page I used when I was first using OddsJam. As a sports fan, I found it incredibly helpful, and it's just really interesting to see. And it's not rocket science. All it is all of the different odds listed for a specific game all on one page. So what I have up here right now is the 76ers versus Raptors game. And what you see on the screen here is what every single sportsbook prices their moneyline odds for both the 76ers and the Raptors. Highlighted green, the best odds. So right off the bat, if you're using OddsJam, you're consistently getting the best odds. And it might not seem like a lot at the time. You know, the difference between betting the Raptors at plus 270 versus 250 doesn't mean that bet is going to win or lose. But no matter what you're doing as a sports bettor, if you're consistently getting the best odds, that means you're consistently making the most profit on your bets, and that's how you can consistently be a profitable sports bettor. So before I even understood all the tools and the math behind a lot of what OddsJam has to offer, if you just use this page to place the most favorable odds when you're with your bets, that's a really good start. And there aren't just odds for the money line, obviously. There's point spread, total points. Anything you see here on the screen, OddsJam is going to have odds for, and you're going to be able to compare across multiple sports books. Obviously, the point spread and the total points and the money line are the three most popular bets, the three main markets. And you can use OddsJam to find some really valuable bets on the point spread or the total. And all you do is, again, you're just comparing the odds of all the different sports books. So what we see here is it looks like the Philadelphia 76ers are pretty evenly 7.5 point favorites across every single book. Most books have them at minus 110, but we see here you can get them at minus 108 on WinBet, or if you think the Raptors are going to cover, you can get them at minus 108 on FanDuel. These little 2 points, like I said, aren't going to be a lot in this specific bet. There's certainly not going to be the difference between your bet winning or losing, but it just helps you maximize your profits overall. Now, if we go to the total, we'll see something similar. So we'll see that the total is mostly priced at 216 or 216 and a half, but here is where we're seeing a little bit of value. So right off the bat, we see different odds with different price points. The way this makes sense is that each sportsbook is going to have their own algorithm, their own models with how they're pricing bets, and obviously they're not going to all be the exact same. And that's how we're able to use OddsJam to take advantage of this, to find pricing discrepancies. So if I wanted to bet the over of this game, I could bet over to 216 and a half at minus 110 odds on Caesars or DraftKings, or if I'm using OddsJam, I can find more favorable odds on BetRivers, on FanDuel, on PointsBet, on Unibet. Even though you're only getting that half point, it's incredibly helpful as a sports bettor to gain the edge whenever you can. And using the OddsJam odds page to compare odds from different prices from different sports books, that's how you can gain a very significant edge. And that's the number one rule for how you can be a profitable sports bettor, just to make sure you're line shopping for the best money line odds, and then also for the best markets when you're betting point spread and total. So you're getting the most favorable point spread, you're getting the most favorable total. Those concepts are really important. For the next concept I want to talk about positive expected value betting. So I went over line shopping in the previous bet, but just because you're finding the best odds doesn't necessarily mean you're finding a positive expected value bet. And what a positive expected value bet means is that the bet you are placing has more favorable odds than what the OddsJam perfect line or the true line or the fair odds prices that to be. And the way that makes sense, so OddsJam calculates using the sharpest sportsbook in the world what they deem to be the perfect line, the true line. You see my screen over here, you see OddsJam. This is what the OddsJam perfect line prices these plays at. And a positive expected value bet is when you are using another sportsbook to find more favorable odds. This is how you can be consistently profitable over time. So looking at just this example we see on the screen here. So the OddsJam perfect line prices, looks like this is a Dodgers Braves game, MLB. Prices a play at minus 138. This is what OddsJam, the perfect line, deems to be the true line, what it should accurately be priced at. But as I mentioned earlier, not every sportsbook is going to have the exact same pricing model. So we see that we can get this on DraftKings at minus 115. So right off the bat, we see that we're getting more favorable odds on DraftKings than what the OddsJam perfect line prices it to be. That gives this bet a positive expected value percentage of about 4.8%, of exactly 4.8%. A couple things to highlight with this knowledge. Number one, the 4.8%, what that means is if you were to place this bet $100, you place $100 on this bet, and let's pretend that we're living in a simulation and this game was played an infinite amount of times, you would figure to make about $5 on this bet over time. Obviously, it's not exactly how it works. If the bet loses, you lose all your money. If the bet wins, you get your profits. But if you were to place this bet over time, your bet would win more often than not, and you would profit about $5 over time. So the goal isn't to maximize how many bets you win. The goal is to maximize your positive expected value percent. One important point I want to make here is that not every bet you see on the positive expected value page is going to be a bet that we recommend taking. There are going to be a couple things that we recommend looking out for before placing a bet that I'll get into shortly. But before I get into that, I do want to say that if you are not currently a subscribed member of OddsJam, you can access this positive expected value page if you'd sign up for a 7-day free trial. So 7-day free trial means that you won't be charged. And if you're watching this video, you clearly have some interest in sports betting. So I would recommend signing up for that 7-day free trial. Use and implement the concepts I talk about in this video. Also, make sure you check out the OddsJam YouTube channel to see all the other. We have picks, we have more betting advice, we have more betting education stuff out there. You can also go to the OddsJam website, check out our betting education blog. This is completely free to use, and it just lists all the different sports betting concepts and how you can make yourself a more knowledgeable and profitable sports bettor. So sign up for that 7-day free trial and start implementing these concepts, and then you'll start cashing with us. But looking at the OddsJam positive EV page that I have up here. So as I mentioned, not every play on here is going to be a bet worth taking. The number one thing I'll look out for when placing a bet is the market width. So market width is a way for OddsJam to, the OddsJam perfect line to signify confidence in a line. So the smaller the number of the market width, the better. The greater the number, the worse. So that concept's pretty easy to understand. Low equals good, big equals bad. And the way you calculate it, it's very easy. So you look at the OddsJam perfect line, both sides of it. So you don't look at any of the sports books that you'd possibly be betting it on. You're just looking at both sides of the OddsJam perfect line. And for a plus and a minus, like you see here, plus 132, minus 152, just subtract those two numbers. So 52 minus 32 equals 20. So this bet have a market width of 20 cents. In the range, so there's 3 different ways you can look at market width. Anything that is 26 cents and above is a pretty wide market. that we would not necessarily recommend as a good bet. If you do want to take it, we would recommend only putting 1% of your bankroll on it. So bankroll management is a really important concept as a sports bettor. Unfortunately, I can't tell you what yours specifically should be. It's just on you to look at your finances and understand what you'd be comfortable with as far as a bankroll. And a bankroll in general is just the total amount of money that you feel comfortable betting on sports. So with your bankroll, it's never recommended to bet above 5% of what your bankroll is. So let's pretend that your bankroll is $1,000. We wouldn't recommend betting more than $50 on one bet because that is 5% of your bankroll. And when you're betting a market with above 26 cents, we wouldn't recommend, like I said, we recommend only putting 1% of your bankroll on that. So for $1,000 bankroll, you should really, like for this one right here, Braves versus Dodgers, what's this, 38 cents in market with, you should only put $10 on this bet if your bankroll is $1,000. So that's the first category is anything 26 cents and above is 1%. The next category is anything between 16% and 25%. That's a pretty good market. We definitely recommend taking that bet, and we would recommend putting about 3% of your bankroll on it. So that would be a $30 bet for someone with $1,000 bankroll. The logic there is just the tighter the market is, the more confident that the OddsJam perfect line is in what they're pricing it. And if you're still finding a positive expected value bet with tighter markets, those are really valuable bets. So anything between 16 and 25%, 3% of your bankroll. And then we get to the last category, which I like to call a load city. That's not an official betting term. That's just a Matt betting term. Anything 15 cents and below, like I said, can be considered a load city, and we wouldn't recommend putting more than 5% of your bankroll on that. So like I said, anything 5%, you shouldn't really be betting more than that. But a load city is where I feel comfortable betting up to that amount. So 5% of your bankroll, $50, should be spent on $1,000 bankroll, should be spent on a load city bet. And those are the three categories of market width, right? 26 cents and above, between 16 and 25 cents, and then anything 15 cent and below are the three categories. So right off the bat, I see two load city bets. The first one here, the Dodgers versus Braves. Looks like the play is on Dodgers -2, plus 125 on Caesars. OddsJam perfect line prices that at plus 114. The other side of it is -128. 14 cents in market width, load city market width right there. But with that said, there are still important concepts to understand. Number one, after market width, I shouldn't say number one, I should say next, is the VIG or juice. So if you're unfamiliar with that term, with VIG, juice, essentially what it is the tax that sportsbooks price odds in order to make their own money. So sportsbooks don't charge a transaction fee or anything like that. They don't charge you to place a bet. What they instead do is price up the odds a little bit, and that's how they make their profit. So for example, if I'll just go back to that Sixers versus Raptors game, we see that the most common for the point spread, the most common odds are -110 each way. If a bettor places $100 on the Sixers -7.5, another bettor prices $100 on the Raptors +7.5. The winner profits $90. The loser loses $100, and no matter what, the sportsbook profits $10. You multiply that over time, hundreds of thousands of millions of bets, a lot more money than $100 per bet, and you see how the sportsbooks make their money, why they have all that money for all their advertisements. So one thing that is really important to do as a sports bettor is to calculate the true odds of what a market is and make sure that you are still getting positive expected value bets. So for this page, of course, everything is going to be positive expected value, but it's still important to remove the VIG so you understand exactly by how much. And the way you do that is there's a calculator that OddsJam offers. So another reason why I think this is a great software is just because of all the different calculators on the OddsJam website that you can use at your disposal. So probably the most important one, the No Vig Fair Odds Calculator. The way it works is you just look at both sides of a positive expected value bet, you enter them in, and it'll give you the No Vig Fair Odds. So random play, let's look back at this load city one, Dodgers -2. So one side of it is priced at -126, the other side of it at +112. Let's put that in here, -126, +112, puts the true line of this at +118. and we're getting it all the way at plus 125. So right off the bat, we know that that's a positive expected value bet. So if you're just looking at the odds page and not on the positive expected value page, you can see whether, let's look at a different game, whether you're getting a positive expected value bet or not. So let's look at the money line. Dallas Mavericks money line, OddsJam puts at plus 176. Utah Jazz money line, OddsJam puts at minus 198. So that's 22 cents in market with. So we do know that it's within range as a 3% play. So let's find out if it's positive expected value. Plus 176, and it was minus 198. Puts the true line of this at plus 183, minus 183. And it does seem to be some value on PointsBet. So I would recommend taking the Dallas Mavericks money line on PointsBet because with the VIG removed, we know that it's a positive expected value bet. I know that by using the no VIG fair odds calculator. As you can see on the screen here, there are a ton of different calculators that OddsJam offers. The expected value calculator, in case you don't have access to the page, you don't want to sign up yet, I understand, but you still want to calculate if you're getting positive EV or not. What you can do, just use the OddsJam expected value calculator. All you need to do is put in how much you're betting, what odds you're betting it on, the win probability, and you'll see that expected value is 20 bucks. The win probability is kind of interesting, at least to me as a math nerd. Another calculator that OddsJam offers is, so sportsbooks, whenever they price odds, all they're doing is assigning a percent chance they think that bet's going to hit, and they convert that percentage into odds. So the way you can calculate the probability percent of a bet hitting, all you need to do is use the OddsJam odds converter calculator. So for a standard minus 110 bet, that sportsbook, the OddsJam perfect line, is giving this a 52.36% chance of hitting. So when you see the no VIG odds of minus 110, you know that's a little bit over 50% chance of hitting. If you want to look at plus 100, it's just 50-50. If you want to look at minus 120, you see that's about a 55% chance of hitting. You can also put in a percent and you calculate that into odds. So you want to say, I want to know what a 60% chance odds look like. Minus 150. You want to know what 55 looks like? Minus 122. These are just important calculators to understand and use as a sports betting tool in your disposal. All right, so now that I've identified that this Dodgers-Braves bet is a good one to make, now let's actually place the bet and add it to our bet tracker. So I placed it on Caesar Sportsbook. Now I want to add it to my tracker. The way you do that using OddsJam is we have a bet tracker that you can use, and the bet tracker is completely free. So if you click this plus button right here, you see this add to bet tracker pops up. So the important thing to do is just understand which side you're betting it on so you know where to put it. So I deem this as a load city bet. I put 5% of my bankroll. I put 50 bucks on it. You enter the amount. This is the amount. I put it on Caesars plus 125, save. Now there's a check mark here showing that I already bet it. And if you go to oddsjam.com and you just hover over bet tracker, click bets, you see here Dodgers run line -2. And there's a couple things about the bet tracker that I really, really like. There's two specifically. Number one, I like the fact that it tells you whether your bet is currently beating the closing line or not. So the closing line under CLV you see here is just the no VIG odds of the OddsJam perfect line. So we know that a positive expected value bet is when we're beating those odds. So the bet tracker shows you over the course of the day whether you're still beating the closing line or not. Obviously, bets change all the time, odds change all the time, and you're not always going to be beating the closing line. So you'll see some red here. You'll see some red in bets that lost. You'll see some red in bets that won. Overall, it's just important to understand whether you're beating the closing line or not. And if if you have more bets than not that aren't beating the closing line, you won't be a profitable sports bettor, and you can look into those bets and see what you're doing wrong. So my homepage, you see that I'm at about 73%. That's pretty good. That's from positive expected value betting using market width as my toolbox. And another thing I really like about the OddsJam bet tracker is all the pending bets you see here. So if I filter for pending bets, you see all my pending bets here. A lot of green, which is very good. We'll see if this keeps up over the course of the day. It auto grades your bets for you. So all these pending bets, OddsJam will mark them as won or lost for me. I won't need to go in and do that myself. So for me, over the course of a day, I'm locking in a lot of positive expected value bets I don't need to go in and mark these all as won or lost. OddsJam will do it for me. So I mentioned I believe you should sign up for a 7-day free trial. If you don't want to quite commit to that yet, another thing you can do is just sign up for our email list. If you're on that list, you'll get emailed 3 free bets a day. Those are all positive expected value bets. So go to the odds page, lock in those bets, add them to your bet tracker, and then you'll see them auto grade, and then you'll see your profits slowly start to rise over time, or quickly, if you're like me, had a really fast start, rise over time. You can do that from the email list. Then you'll want to sign up for the free trial. Then you'll want to sign up for the year. And those are pretty much the most important tools of the OddsJam website. If you, like I said, if you like the video, please like, please comment, please subscribe to the OddsJam YouTube channel. Let me know what you thought, what you liked, what you didn't like, and that's all I got for you. So thanks for watching, and have a good one.